how I am learning to better handle conflict versus how I learned to handle conflict in my childhood. So, growing up in my childhood, I saw my parents, caregivers, those whom I live with. Pardon me, I'm gonna be having my laptop here so I have my notes on here. Those who I live with, I saw them, arguing. I saw them doing some things, to each other. They would say some mean things to each other. They would call each other than names, insults. Sometimes it led to physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse specifically. I heard a lot of that. Sometimes it will lead to things being thrown on the wall, glasses breaking, all kinds of stuff. Even sometimes the cops will have to come, to see what was going on in the home. And at the end of the day, what I realized is that they never sat down to talk about the situation that just occurred. Everybody just moved on the next day as if nothing had happened. And it will only be a few more weeks, a few more months later, the same situation will occur. And when it came to us children in the home, our voice was never valid. If you grew up in an African home, you know that, especially in the older generation. I don't know about the generation now, but for my generation, I was born in the 90s. I'm a millennial, and during that time, my siblings and I growing up in the home, our voice was never valid. And when I say was never valid, based off of if something bothered us, if something was, maybe got us upset, we was never able to express our true feelings. Because whenever we spoke up and said something, it was always considered to be rude. It was always considered to be disrespectful. It was always considered to be, who are you talking to like that? Don't you know I'm your parent? Oh, you want to fight me now? But our emotions was being suppressed. Our arguments or our thoughts were also being suppressed. So for me as an individual, I learned that voicing my opinion brought other people, some kind of a discomfort. Voicing my opinion was never something that was important. So I learned to keep things on the inside until my cup overflowed. I learned to keep everything on the inside until I got really upset and started to say some things that I really may not have meant to say. And so as I grew up in my friendships, in my relationship with other people, I realized that I had some toxic traits of communicating with people, especially when it came to conflict, especially when it came to, when we got into an argument or something happened. I didn't know how to best communicate my feelings. I didn't know how to best communicate my emotions. And I resulted to so many toxic behavior. And some of the behaviors that I resulted to, for one, when there was conflict, I fear having conversations because whenever I was what was bothering me, I was shut down. And this also took place in some of my friendships. A friend would do something to me, and the moment I say something, they're like, oh, that wasn't even important. Like, they would just brush it off as if what I said, it didn't make any sense. Like, they will make me feel like I'm crazy for saying what I just said. But when it came turn for them, their feelings should be validated. Their feelings should be heard. So I got anxious and nervous, and whenever I got anxious and nervous, I started to overthink situations. I would then lead myself to excessively calling somebody or sending lengthy text messages. Hoping that this person would respond to me because I needed my voice to be heard. And when this person, don't respond, I felt rejected and abandoned. And sometimes I will call my family to rant. How many of us do that, right? When we call our friends to talk about everybody else. I will block and then unblock. I will block and unblock. Very toxic. And the last result would be that I self-blame. I took all the blame of what everybody else did versus me just taking accountability for what I did. Realizing all of these toxic traits I decided that it was time for me to embark on a journey of learning how to best communicate my feelings, how to best communicate my emotions, despite what anybody may think or say. And if I say you did something to me and you decide to respond in a negative way, that has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. My part was to let you know how you made me feel. And my part is to leave it that way and walk away. And based off of the way you respond, I would know if you need to be in my life or you don't need to be in my life. So one of the things that I've come to learn, or some of the things I've come to learn in terms of solutions to a better conflict, thanks to ChatGPT. I believe it was ChatGPT that helped me, or it was Google. I don't know which one. But having the capacity to see the other person's perspective, not just your perspective. So whenever I was for myself in this particular situation, right? Whenever I found myself in the midst of conflict, I always amounted to how this person hurt me, what this person did to hurt me. Why would this person be behaving towards me, right? It became all about me. I never saw or even thought of thinking about how this person is feeling, what's going on in their mind, what did I do to also contribute to the conflict that is taking place at this proper time. So learning to see things from other people's perspective is something that I'm learning how to do now. Listening to what they have to say versus me just always thinking about myself. Next will be having a calm demeanor, not being defensive and reacting respectfully rather than exploiting anger, insults, and resentfulness, which I learned in my childhood. In my childhood, I saw anger exploding, insults showing everywhere, and definitely resentfulness was a part of it. But now, I can learn to have a more calm demeanor. Something that I learned to do now would be to put my phone away when I'm upset, to not text at all, because that was something that I will result to. Immediately when I'm angry, when I'm upset with this person, I grab my phone. I want to text until I can text no, because to me texting was in a sense self-soothing. It was helping me, but not knowing it was just destroying things. It was even destroying things more, and it was just putting more fire to the conflict. So having a calm demeanor, what it looks like for me is to put my phone aside. Coming to a resolution for both person, not just you, and having control over our emotions. So if somebody wants to, have a conversation or how can we best solve this issue on ground, then it's a good thing. It's a really, really good thing. But what if the person decides they don't want to be bothered, right? What if the person decides, I don't want to talk to you anymore? What we need to do is that, or what I have decided to do is that having a resolution with myself is the best thing. Because when you forgive yourself, when you take accountability for your own actions, when you decide that, okay, I own up to my mess, that's also a form of resolution, especially when that person is deciding not to sit down with you for you guys to talk about what happened. They decide to, I just don't want to be bothering you anymore. So that way it gave you peace. You're like, at least I tried, I reached out to communicate, and the person said no. I take responsibility for my action. I did apologize for whatever I said or did wrong. And that is a form of resolution for yourself. And that is what I am journeying on right now. Last but not least, having control over our emotions. I can tell you how many times in conflicts that I've had with people over the years, that my emotions got the best of me and it publicly humiliated me. My emotions took over me. It guarded me and it drowned me. So I did not use that particular verse or call on the Holy Spirit to help me to exercise self-control in the moment that I found myself being really upset with somebody, being really upset with situations. According to Galatians chapter 5 verse 22, one of the fruit of the Spirit states that self-control is one of the fruit of the Spirit, and it must be exhibited in our lives based on all situations, attributed to all situations. I allowed my emotions to get the best of me in every single fault, in every single, conflict that I had with past relationships. And now I am asking and praying, Lord, help me to have self-control. But not just self-control, but to have control over my emotions. Having control over our emotions will help us to better handle conflict. It will help us to not do things out of the box. It will help us to not push ourselves to some lefty situations, that will continue to go back and forth with the person, arguing, insulting, all of those things. Emotions can definitely drain us, and it can definitely cause relationship damage if we do not have control over them. So here it is, my friends, how I learned to handle conflict versus what I learned in my childhood. I want to say God bless you. I will see you in my next video. Leave a comment down below and let us know, how do you handle conflict? How do you handle conflict? Do you give the silent treatment? Are you on your conflict journey, learning how to better handle conflict in a more positive way? Or are you still at where I used to be too? I want to say God bless you. Thank you. Peace out.